Anywhere a brand uses sound, we believe that it should come from a strategic point of view, attaching emotions to a brand.
Toned it
Perceptive,
down.
though. If you wanted somebody to go a certain way,
Wait, what?
must be so hard as well for you guys in terms of be leading them a little
I
bit.
have.
Not that you would do that.
Hello everyone. It's been a very long time since we did like a small podcast session that I usually used to do. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
I'm Luke. I'm one of the co-founders at Hear Me Out. We're a creative music agency. We specialize in helping brands understand how they can use sound. So anywhere a brand uses sound, we believe that it should come from a strategic point of view, and that should be supporting the marketing strategy and be enhancing the traditional branding. Anytime a brand uses sound, it shouldn't be left to chance. Just like with branding, you wouldn't just randomly pick out different fonts and colors every time you were making an asset or posting something. A lot of brands do that with sound. So we're trying to rein everything in so that everything helps the branding that you guys do look even better, connect even deeper.
I absolutely love sonic branding or like sonic logos. Am I right? Sonic logos?
So I'd say sonic logos are part of sonic branding. In the traditional sense, people would think of sonic branding as a sonic logo. To your question, is every time somebody sees anything to do with a company, like, would you consider that part of their branding?
Definitely. I think the way people perceive you is branding in a way.
So we think the same thing. So I think sonic branding we try and use as a more holistic term. If you have a shop, it's the music you're playing in the shop. If you have an app, it's the sounds that are playing on the app. If you have a podcast, if you're doing adverts, commercials, social media, even down to, say, if you had a shop and you have one of those bells that rings when you walk in, the tone of that bell and the style of that bell is making people feel a certain way. And if you are attaching emotions to a brand or to a product and a brand, then it should always be considered.
Can you also explain on exactly what kind of projects you take on? Because personally, I would love to know like what your process is and what kind of projects you work on.
Yeah, the process, it's basically turning the brand into a person and then understanding what their characteristics are and the impression that they're trying to give to the world. When you get ready to go out somewhere and you dress a certain way to give a certain impression, you're wanting to feel whimsical and fun, you might wear something loose fitting and like flowing just to like have a carefree kind of attitude to something. There's certain instruments that can give that impression. And then if you're a brand that's like, I'm going to power dress to go and nail a meeting in like a sharp suit and everything being quite angular, then there's also, styles and genres of music and instrumentation that you can use for that. So it's really uncovering who they are, how they want to be seen, and then matching those up with musical vehicles, I suppose.
Just curious on how you go from like brainstorming process to actually giving the clients option 1, 2, and 3, which are pretty different. And
yeah, so we never really do the option 1, 2, and 3, and we find the best approach is to make sure we, once we've done like a big questionnaire with the key decision makers, then we create what we call a soundboard, which is like a mood board for music that has real world examples of songs that already exist that we think represent certain aspects of answers in the brand questionnaire. And then we talk about what those are, and then we go through it with the brand that we're working with, and we all agree on those parts. But once they hear something and they think it represents their brand properly, there's not much ambiguity there. The power of music is the immediacy. You hear it and you're like, perfect, that's it. And so I think because there's so many songs out in the world already, when we have these references and we spend a lot of time in using our decades of knowledge about music to get the right references, then we prioritize elements of the references in order of answers from the brand questionnaire. There'll always be a certain overriding intention behind it. You could want to seem secure, but also approachable. But the real thing you want to make sure, like you're a bank, you want to make sure people feel safe giving you their money. So that's cool. That we got to nail that first, and then the approachable stuff, that can be sort of seasoning on the top. Priority thing is a big, and then that can be energy as well, and not just sounds. Making sure that you're hitting those marks so that it's triggering all the right emotions.
Interesting. Do you also do a lot of consumer research with like competitive research as well? Or like competition has similar sounds or something?
Yeah, 100%. If there's any of their competitors that are doing it, And also, just if they think it fits, definitely doing research like that. And then taking research that they've done in terms of understanding their customers more deeply.
What was your most challenging project?
I think the challenge that we've had was for Sky Bingo. They just wanted to do something different and unique and really separate themselves inside the gamified gambling space. Again, huge brand, but the creative decision maker team was relatively small. So, there was usually between 2 and 4 people on the calls that we had. Everyone had a really clear idea of what they wanted to do, and they were aligned. And then after the soundboard process, we were all aligned. That was a really interesting one to work on.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because I went through a lot of projects on your website. Also, for the people who are watching this, if you're interested in going through the website, I'll link it down below so you can go and see their work. I think Sky Bingo is the first one that you've put, and I think I really like that one. But the other one that I really liked, which was the Lost Focus one.
Oh, yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Did you usually reach out to somebody, or did they reach out to you?
I think that was a conversation George was having. Don't know if there was a shared connection there, but Elliot Simpson, the director, we started talking. Fun thing about that project was being able to just, compose to the to picture, have to sort of break away from the traditional norms of normally this section would be 4 bars and then you do this and you do that, verse, chorus and stuff. So that was cool. And then just the amount of SFX on it as well, all the Foley sounds and things, and being able to place all of those in. And it's crazy the amount of elevation and enhancement project like that gets, even just from adding car door noises and clicks on keyboard.
I think that's what I really loved about it. Maybe watch that commercial maybe as an ad on YouTube. I might not notice it as much, but because we've had that conversation before and I went through that, I'm like, there's a lot of layers, What would be your dream project to work on?
I've actually stolen my answer from another branding person that I was speaking to recently, like a high-end hotel. They have so many touch points for sound. The sounds that people hear when they walk into their room for the first time. Be in control of the sound of the elevators, what's in the restaurants, how that ties in with things that they've heard online, in promotional materials, in the advert, the interplay between the smell, the taste, the touch, and what you hear. I think that would be a really fun one to work on.
How you usually reach out to your potential clients, because it might be really different than what we do.
LinkedIn, the best responses we've had so far are pretty active posts. So we'll post on LinkedIn 2 to 5 times a week. Short form video, a project we've done, or just a thought around something to do with brands and sound. We do a lot of outreach in the past, maybe 6 weeks. We've connected with 800 new people that we've reached out to, sending notes, personalized bits of notes to people, waiting for them to get back, sort of following up with them. And then if somebody follows up and shows some interest, then we'll usually send them a quick loom in terms of 3 key points that they should think about when it comes to sound, 2 minutes, no more than that. Our whole thing is education, and then they need to be in the buying cycle, essentially. We're now starting to 550 upwards outreach connections is where you start to finally see some sort of measurable response. Before that, we were getting some replies, sending out some emails and things, whereas just in this past week, since we've gotten to that 700 mark or whatever, it's
Is there a way you are measuring all of this?
We've tried complicated systems, but we just put Apple reminders. We each have a reminder in there. So every person that we add, we just put in there with tags, added with note. If they accept, then we just add the accept tag. And then if they replied, then we just add the, conversation reply tab or whatever. But yeah, as soon as we got to that 700, it's, we've sent out 3 quotes in this past 2 days, had 5 to 10 people replying saying, yes, send me through. Because we always say we can help you unlock value in your business that, helps you grow 2.5 times quicker than visual. We actually use visual branding. So we throw you under the bus a little bit, to be honest, because if you hear something, it only takes 3 times for you to remember. If you see it, it takes 7 times, apparently. So sound is 2.5 times faster than visual, apparently. Sorry. And so we lean into that big time. We lean into that big time, and then people are just we don't even talk about sound, actually, in the outreach message. Our goal is not to give you a sound. Our goal is to unlock value that it just so happens only sound can unlock. And it will be fun and it will be creative, but it's all about the value unlocking. And when you're just reaching out to marketing managers and brand managers who are all trying to stand out, it took us a while to refine that message to that. But now that we're there, that seems to really be oh, yeah, cool. Tell me more. I would love to unlock more value.
So all of these like 700 people that you have reached out, like 800 or something you said,
Yeah.
is it like very personal messages that you have shared with them or like with their agency, or is it like a template that you usually follow?
The personalization is only as far as, hey, Emily, and we always call it out like, bold request incoming. We help brands do blah, blah, blah. And then love to send you something about whoever they work for. And then always just ask, would it be okay? And then if they don't reply, they don't reply. It's fine. The reason I add a note is because when they accept, it comes up in your inbox. So then you can see who's accepted quite easily. And then we always do a follow-up afterwards if they haven't replied, just being like, because it's quite hard sometimes to see the notes that people attach to connection requests.
Oh, interesting. How do you know they have accepted? Is there like something that I don't know about?
It comes up in your messages if you've added a note.
Oh, that way. Like if a person has accepted it or not.
Yeah, because when you click on connect and it says, do you want to send it with or without a note, or if you want to add a note on LinkedIn, then I click on add a note and add it. And it's sort of trying to start a conversation, but people don't always see that. So then we follow up if they haven't replied. And then we say...
No, I was just thinking about it in like a email way.
Oh,
like,
no, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the other thing with LinkedIn, because we always do second connections when we're searching. So we always do like senior marketing managers, second connection. So there's always a tenuous thread. Such and such wants to connect with you. You have 4 shared mutual connections. Okay, cool. They seem fine. Let's accept. Cold outreach on email. Completely different kettle of fish. Tried that for a while. Literally nothing back. I think I sent like 50 emails. I didn't put in the time, but people get so many emails in people's inbox. That's even harder, I think.
I recently spoke with a lot of design studio owners, founders, even like lead marketing people in design studios, and I just asked them like, how's the weather for you? Are you guys getting any work? They're like, yeah, the market is not that great, but we are reaching out and we are getting some work because of it. I'm like, oh, great. Like outbound is working for you, like through emails. I mean, that's the first. And they're like, yeah, because we've sent like 1,000 emails. I'm like, wait, what? And they're getting like 2 responses. Like what? 5 responses from those 1,000 emails and 1 approval rate out of those 1,000 emails. I was shocked on the amount of work that you have to do for that.
We're between a 20 and a 35% acceptance rate. And then out of those, probably a 10% response rate. But then it comes down to sort of economies of scale. We're in a business where, we're sort of like top is 75 grand to 100 for a project. The sort of lower end is like 10 grand for a project. So in reality, if we're getting like 10 projects out of 1,000, that's still great for us. If they're top-end projects, that's sort of 100 grand to $1 million a year or whatever that you're making. So I think if we were trying to sell a low-cost product, then I'm not sure it makes that much sense. And that's when I think you need to be refining your ads. But ads weren't effective because they weren't in front of the right people. And when I think about the best connections we've made have been in real life, not in real life, in LinkedIn. It hasn't taken that much time. Like numbers are like that, they're daunting, but when you get into the zone, etc., you could be adding quite a few people. If I spend an hour, you could easily be adding 20 to 30 people that are actually relevant, that you spent a tiny bit of time. Who do you work for? Okay, cool. Do they need what I've got? And then they're in your network as well, which is great. So even if they accept, but they don't reply and they never reply, again, it could just be they're not in the right buying cycle, but because we're active, then they're seeing our post. We're then building up to that front of mind thing. I spoke to a guy last night who runs a LinkedIn outreach business, and he was like, I had somebody get in touch with me that said, I've been wanting to work with you for 5 years and I'm ready. And he was like, I've never seen you like anything or comment. And he was like, no, I never like or comment on LinkedIn. That's not how I use LinkedIn. This guy was like, because he had this person that was watching everything he did, super engaged, just waiting for the right time. So it's like you never know, which to me is mind-blowing.
I think I did a very conscious outbound once in my life, and it worked perfectly because I'm still working with her like 5 years, 6 years down the lane now, every single month, which is great, right? So it was like, I've been following her for a very long time. It was like 8 years back or something, 9 years back. And I liked her YouTube videos and everything. And she became like a good, big CEO, and she is running her own company and all of that. And she just posted this one thing on her stories of Instagram or somewhere, like, I'm looking for someone who can help us with campaigns and like social media and all of that stuff. And at that point, I just started out as a freelancer. I'm like, I'm hitting you right now. So I just emailed her, like, I saw this post, or like, I saw the story that you wanted. I can do these things. I can also do this thing. I also sent her like 10 design, like free design that she can use without tagging me or like paying me. This is for free. This is for you. Just see, I can do this without any notes from you. This is what I perceived of your brand for past 3 years that I've been following you. And I think this can be a good way to go. But I feel if I would work for you, there are a couple of things I would change. Like there are like what 5 things I would change, but these are the only top 2 that I can share with you right now, and would love to work with the other 3 whenever we work on it. So yeah, we're still working with each other, and it's really fun. So
nice. So you had 100%,
I mean,
100% success rate.
Outbound works. Yeah. I mean, I put so much effort into it. So yeah, I mean, definitely. It's like, I'm just being lazy now, I feel, because of all of that. So yeah.
That's the hard thing though, isn't it? Like when you then have people you're working with, is having the awareness and the wherewithal to be continually still trying to bring new people into your circle so that, you know, you always have something going on.
Where do you usually find your inspirations from?
I would say from the brand itself, really. I like to imagine a lot of different scenarios for brands. I enjoy abstract, obscure, creative imagery, I think, in my own brain, in terms of it coming up with other things. It's kind of like random images of stupid things that just entertain my mind, I think can help. And then, yeah, it comes down to how people are going to use it. And the emotions. I think that's the great thing about music, and the thing I've really enjoyed, the transition from working with artists to brands, is the extra layer it's given to music in terms of interpreting emotions into sound. Because when you're working with an artist, it's like, hey, let's write a song, and it's all about getting their emotions out. It's all quite lyrical. What do you want to say? What do you want to write about? Is this telling that story, and is this making people feel that way? Then you obviously have sound choices that could support that in terms of chords and general treatment. But to then be like, how can you make a 1-second sound that makes people feel that their money that they've just transferred to someone is safe? What? That to me is such a great challenge. That's so interesting now. And then I think it helps to then be thinking about all these different scenarios and like, what sounds make you feel safe in the world? Like, where do you feel safest in the world? Bizarrely, that's probably inside, where you can't hear most sound from the outside. So really a lot of safety comes from the absence of noise, I would say, in that situation. But I'm trying to make noise here, so I can't go for the absence. I can just send a blank file.
No.
Here you go.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but when it comes to colors as well, like for us, we usually do the same thing. Like one of our clients, they already had a logo and we had to rebrand it for them. They had this very specific blue. It's not that safe of an option for them. And I just asked them, oh, can I change it a little bit? For them, it was like huge leaps. Are you going to change the blue to like purple or something else? I'm like, no. Like blue has millions of colors into it. So they had a slightly bit more of a greenish blue, like a turquoise-ish blue. We kind of made it slightly towards purplish blue, which kind of had that calming tech feel to it, and they loved it. So it's like tiny bit of changes here and there can just, throw you off balance, and it might work, might not work. So I think, educating, like you said before, is also very necessary on why this worked and why this might not.
Must be so hard as well for you guys in terms of if you have to present multiple slightly different toned blues. Is there a trick you use to make them stand out and to really be able to almost like freshen the palette, like you would between courses? Is there a way that you present them to do that?
I always have like a boring slide in between. There is no design. It's just written like in a plain Arial font with bold and normal. That's it, like option 1, option 2. There is no design in between. Even seeing those like transition in between like 2 options, people would like that specific font a lot or that specific layout a lot. So I just want to keep it as boring as possible in between, because
which is so funny
I think people do get manipulated pretty quickly when it comes to
100%.
So, yeah.
Such a funny thing to think, like you are literally working in the design world to make things look good. Yet when you put a deck together, you have to purposefully make it look boring so that you can get them to see your design in the future. No, but I think it's a great idea because I can really see how it would be manipulating.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of design agencies use really amazing decks with their own designs and stuff, but I used to do that a lot before. But I slowly started to find people, like my clients, started to look like me a lot. And I couldn't understand why at all. Like, I thought it was like, they came to me because they like my work, and that's why it's like very colorful, and that's why like, oh, we want that kind of a style. And there was this next client that I wanted to work with, and I just presented black and white things to them. And that's where I saw like that leap of like different colors and different palettes. I'm like, oh, the deck is the problem.
Wow.
So I just toned it down a lot.
That's well noticed. Yeah. Because I suppose you could do the other, couldn't you? If you wanted somebody to go a certain way, you could sort of be leading them a little bit. Not that you would do that.
I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, I've never done that before.
No, never.
Too
professional. Too professional.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Luke, for saying yes to this. And I'll put all of his links down below. Please check them out. They've done some amazing work. Thank you. Bye.